Director of Community Engagement, and Janelle Patton, who is the Assistant Director of Campus Ministry. In addition, we have a couple of current students who will go ahead and talk about their experiences with both of these departments after my colleagues have introduced themselves. Colin, do you mind taking it away?
Sure. Thanks again, Andrea, and everyone. It's great to be with you today. Especially I see Grace here, certainly welcoming you. I come from the community engagement sector, so I've been a director at Mercyhurst for about 11 years. And when we talk about community engagement, it's near and dear to our mission, our Mercy mission, serving within the local community and in the regional and even international communities. So it's a privilege to serve with people and also care and concern for the environment. I am also privileged, if I can, popcorn to Bethany, our Assistant Director in Community Engagement. Take it away, Bethany.
Hello. Hi, Grace. My name is Bethany Woods. I have been working alongside Colin for almost the past 10 years. And it has been a joy to do that. I went to Mercyhurst from 07 to 11, so I'm an alum and love this school. So my main role is to connect students to volunteering opportunities. So I look forward to hearing if you have any questions and how you might be able to get involved. And directly across from me is Janelle Patton. And so if I can go to her.
Hi, everyone. I'm Janelle. I work in campus ministry, as if you don't already know that. I have been here in this role 9 years now. I also coach volleyball. So if you have questions about athletics too, I can help you a little bit with that. But hopefully Grace will be able to get you connected with the information you're looking for. And the cool part about campus ministry that I think at our university, it's a little unique from other places that we do adult faith. And so we take you where you are and try to make you dig in further and know that you're loved no matter what you do. So it's kind of a unique twist that I always like to promote. All right.
Thanks, Janelle, Colin, and Bethany. I really appreciate that. Lauren, do you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about where you're from, what year you are at Mercyhurst, and your involvement in some of these organizations?
Absolutely. So, hi, I'm Lauren Rogus. I'm a senior education major, so early childhood and special ed. And I have an art therapy minor, and I'll get back to why I want to talk about how that kind of goes with community engagement and my participation in that. But I want to kind of echo something that Janelle said. I've been involved in my faith, and we are a Catholic-based university, but that does not mean that we celebrate and are strictly Catholic. We are a Christian, based community, and I think a lot of what we have as an opportunity for students is we meet them where they're at, and then where their worship is in the Christian community or in other communities and other faiths. We have various options that are available to students that I think is very rare, at least during my college search. I found it very rare that was the case. I personally, because I'm a senior, I'm kind of rounding out my Mercyhurst experience, but something that we do, which is really cool and really different from other schools, is something that we call BTG, or Beyond the Gates. And we push students out into the Erie community and go, okay, how can we help as a community and give back to the Erie community as a whole? And one way that I did that was I went to it's called the Inner City Neighborhood Art House. And as an art therapy student, I really appreciated that, because it wasn't just teaching and it wasn't just art. It was a combination of my major, my minor, and it gave back to the community. It was really, really fun.
Awesome, Lauren. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. And Joey, we're going to toss it over to you. Do you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about you and your experience at Mercyhurst?
Sure. So I'm Joey. I am a sophomore integrated media and strategic communication major with a minor in theater arts. What else learned? What I like about campus ministry specifically is, even though Janelle knows this, I'm busy and I do all sorts of different things on campus. I try to go as many things as I can, but I can't always make it. But the times that I do make it, they're like, oh my goodness, you're here. So it's always a very welcoming atmosphere, even if you can't make it 100% of the time. It's not like a club where you're like, okay, it's on Wednesday, I have to be there. If you can't make it, you can't make it. It's not a big deal. That's what I like about it.
Excellent. And I would agree. I think that's oftentimes why people call campus ministry the living room of Mercyhurst University, because anytime you go back there, there's definitely students there, and sometimes they're just simply talking. Sometimes they're enjoying breakfast together, and then sometimes they're, worshiping together. So there is a little bit of opportunity for everyone, especially as Lauren said, regardless of what their faith is. I think a lot of times students find their fit in our campus ministry department. Grace, again, this is an opportunity for you to ask some questions. I don't know if you're feeling brave enough to go ahead and share your picture with us, or if you're operating on a device that would allow you to even do that. But again, you happen to be one of our prospective students that are here, and we definitely want to make it an opportunity for you to ask us our questions. But one of the things I want to pose to our presenters is, what is your favorite part about working in the offices that you're in right now? Colin, do you mind starting?
Sorry, I was being rude.
No, that's okay. No problem.
Can you
at all.
reiterate the last part of the question?
Yeah,
I wanted
I was
to
just-
affirm our
Sure. I was
speakers.
just wondering if you would be willing to share your favorite part about being part of the office that you're in right now.
Yeah, so I have to really jump to the elephant in the room, right? How do we still do service in a time where COVID is a reality, where a pandemic is looming, and yet we still have to be true to our mission, true to ourselves as humans. We have a nature that wants to connect with others. So we've done that. And so Lauren, I think you might be really interested to see how Beyond the Gates has pivoted. Andrea and others, this speaks to our Carpe Diem mission, right? We seize the opportunity when it's in front of us. As Catherine McCauley said, the founders of the Sisters of Mercy, it was this: be good today, but better tomorrow. And so I'm constantly, and I know with Bethany and I in co-leading this department, we're trying to be the best we can, our best selves. So one of the things that I love about collaboration, because I think community and collaboration go hand in hand, is how we've seen what is the need now, right? Poverty in service relates to community need. And I think it is a sense of dialogue, a sense of expanding our understanding of selves and others, and really bridging some of our differences. So if we've paid attention to the news lately, we have some divisiveness in the nation. We have a lot of contention. And I think we found the movie Just Mercy, came out in 2019, as a way for us to put it in front of students. And then Bethany and I and some of our grad assistants have moderated discussions with over 270 students in the last week or so. And in small groups like this, 9, 10, 12 people, we've really come to terms with where we sort of sit and wrestle with this. And I think we use that term a lot, wrestling with something. 4 years or more at Mercyhurst, we really wrestle with issues. So Andrea, I hope that gets to the notion of we're still serving, but I think coming back to the notion of what poverty means when sisters take a vow of service to the poor, sick, and uneducated. That's me. I'm uneducated. I need to work on myself. And we encourage that with students. So our servant leadership philosophy is really to be with them and alongside them. Thanks, Janelle, for that language. I think campus ministry and community engagement, our goal is to come alongside students, whether that's outside or inside the classroom. I love that about Mercyhurst. We're small enough but big enough to do both.
Awesome, Colin. And I think that it's really great that we can recognize sometimes that even though we are an institution of higher education, that sometimes we are still uneducated, and there are still ways that we can continually and learn and grow, whether it be in a classroom, in our faith, or individually and socially as well too. Bethany, did you have anything you wanted to expand about why you enjoy working in your department as well too?
Absolutely. And I wanted to welcome, I think, Desmond. So welcome to this conversation today. So I love working in community engagement because I love Mercyhurst. I've been here for a long time now, and I can say my heart has only grown with what we get to do, how we get to interact with students like Lauren and Joey, and the fact that students feel comfortable enough to come to us and say like, hey, I have an idea. I want to serve, or I want to grow my faith. I want to serve. How can I make that happen? And Colin and our department gets to work with each student to figure out what's a best fit. And right now, we're trying to figure out what these virtual service opportunities are. It's been wonderful to watch students embrace those different opportunities. So I love I love growing. I love serving. I love introducing students to serving and finding their niche. And most importantly, though, I would say I love our community. I love this department because Colin and I work very well together. Our whole staff works really well together. We work so well with campus ministry. I love the staff. I love the community. I love the students. So it's hard to answer it all, but I love Mercyhurst.
No, I appreciate that. And thank you so much for kind of alluding to the nimbleness of Mercyhurst. One of the cool things about us is, again, that we are kind of that middle-sized school. So I think that we've adapted to this virtual learning relatively well. And many of our classes are in person. Our students are still here on campus, but some things that we typically would have encouraged students to maybe go out in the community to serve, we've kind of adapted to an on-campus perspective. Joey, I know that you are also taking BTG amidst COVID. Could you talk a little bit about how it's going and what you think that you're obtaining from that experience right now, virtually doing BTG?
So I am currently in it. I am a little disappointed that we don't actually get to go into the community, but I understand. It's important.
Me too,
Um,
Joey. I'm so
I
disappointed.
know. It's okay. But no, I like how they kind of had the class set up because it kind of felt like you were still getting the same experience, but not really. So like the first couple weeks, they had videos from like different organizations all over the Erie community. So like there was I think a video for oh, what's it called? The St. Patrick's. I can't think of the name.
St. Pat's Haven.
Yep, there it is. So like there are like these 30-minute long videos, and like they really went in depth and like this is what they do, this is how they serve the community, this is how they're helping other people, that sort of thing. So like it was kind of like inspiring. They're like, oh, like maybe if we can actually like go out and do a thing, that could be helpful. And like the reason I miss it so much is because I got like a snippet of it last year through another class that I took. And Bethany and I actually went down to a shelter and served dinner for I think it was Catholic Studies that I took with Dr. Snyder. So like I kind of got a snippet. I was like, oh my goodness, this is really fun. Then I got like kind of excited for BTG, and then COVID hit, and we were like, nope, just kidding. But no, it's through how they've been doing it. I think it's been working well. It's just a little bit different.
And Lauren, you actually had an opportunity to participate, like you mentioned briefly, in BTG prior to COVID. And I know that Colin has expressed an interest in getting back to the normal as soon as we can. And I'm sure Bethany also feels that way. Lauren, could you talk a little bit more in detail about what you think the benefits of BTG were and your experience at the Art House?
Absolutely. I think that it's just a really rewarding experience to go out and give back to a community that I mean, as you live at Mercyhurst, you're part of that community and you get to be, grounded better, and give back to a community that you've joined into through your college experience. And I think overall, like, you know, a lot of like I I didn't get to serve as much as I would have liked to in high school. I was doing, extracurricular activities and like pushing for, the arts and that kind of thing at my school. And I didn't realize that things necessarily could overlap. So I having that opportunity to teach art, instead of just doing it myself was really rewarding because it's passing the torch on to another generation. It has that aha moment that you get when you're a teacher and you're like, oh my goodness, like they get it, like what I said makes sense. Like I might not speak, fluently all the time, but like they understood, my gibberish sometimes. And I think it's really cool to see that progression. And I think that BTG does a really good job at you don't just go once and it's a checkbox. Like you experience it. You're part of it, and it's a semester progression that you get to see and grow as a human, but also see other students or frequent people. I know one of my friends did a soup kitchen experience. So she said, I've made friends with some of the people that have been frequenting the soup kitchen, and they have like really great conversations. It's not just fulfilling a requirement that I think that some people assume that that's what they mean by this, but it's so not. It's so much more than that. I can't even begin.
Lauren, that's a great point. And your BTG experience really aligned well with your major. Is that something that happened coincidentally, or did you get to pick the Beyond the Gates experience that most applied to you?
So because of art therapy needing a particular um, internship type experience, I got the opportunity to kind of say, well, can I possibly do like, and I actually had like 3 or 4 options. And that seems to be pretty regular for across majors. Like they try their best. I mean, I'm thinking intelligence studies is a lot difficult than like a lot more difficult to find a BTG that aligns, but they do try their best in the community engagement office to align with interests or anything that, you know, you have to fill out like a form type thing that kind of shows like I've served, my community this way at home. Is there something like that in the Erie community? And they do try to match up really well with interests in that in majors and minors depending on availability.
Thanks, Lauren. Colin and Bethany, Lauren alluded to the importance of not necessarily just checking a box, but it to become an experience for our students. Do you find that some students actually continue with their Beyond the Gates assignment, for lack of a better word, even after they've completed that requirement in terms of our core curriculum?
Yeah, Andrea, I would say ballpark 5% might just continue in a volunteer capacity. A few percent might even do what's considered off-campus work study student participation. So that's compensated service in a way. So we have 14 now in our department that serve in the community, whether that's in our sustainability workforce on campus, serving in environmental capacity, but also up to 10 or so that are working with nonprofits or schools. So I think we see that launch point, in the sophomore, junior year when BTG typically happens, mostly sophomore. So yeah, I would say there's a small percentage. We have also pre-COVID started to launch some mentoring reciprocity. So folks like Lauren could be working with Joey in that capacity of like welcoming to your new site or your new issue-based project work. So we had a handful that were able to do that, and we saw the promise there. Because BTG has been going on only 4 years, I say only, we have quite a bit of data and experience to play with. And we're watching that freshman to senior growth trajectory. And I think it's obvious here, like what we're seeing play out just with 2 students, but we're talking, 650 plus per year going through this. It's quite a bit of work. And I appreciate, Lauren, you're pointing out like how it's intentional where we're trying to match. It's not always perfect. Yeah, Intel is probably a harder major. But I think we also see the meaning develop where you can round out the person, be more well-rounded. I think that's what liberal arts education is about, and kind of seeing where your gaps are. Maybe you've never been to a soup kitchen, or maybe you don't really know what homelessness looks like. And so you can have conversations. And I think that's another thing philosophically, Andrea, if I could just mention, trying to expand a notion of service, not just checking a box or saying, here's your food, we'll see you later, but having a little relationship, if not a conversation, to find the humanity in one another, and less about I'm better than, or I'm giving you something because you need it. I think the kickback to students is they find they needed it too. We strive, our department has a philosophy to strive for mutuality and shared knowledge and learning, and the experience is both ways so that the partner is fully involved in the process.
Thanks, Colin. I appreciate that. Janelle, if you don't mind, I'm going to toss it to you and find out what you enjoy most about working in campus ministry. We've definitely alluded briefly to the hospitality side and the welcoming atmosphere, but could you talk a little bit about why you enjoy it and maybe what some of your favorite programs are in campus ministry?
Okay, I'm going to do that, but really shortly because I'd rather actually engage them and ask them what they're looking for. So real quickly, a couple things that you just might want to know. You're wearing a Kennedy Catholic sweatshirt. Does that mean, Grace, you can nod your head yes or no. Does that mean you have a Catholic faith background?
So actually, I'm wearing like a Kennedy Space sweatshirt.
Oh, even better.
But yes, my family is Catholic, and I've gone like 12, 13 years, including kindergarten of Catholic school. So,
all right.
yes.
So this is a good fit for you. So yes, Mercyhurst is definitely a great way to continue your faith development as well as your personal development. So a couple things you might be interested in specifically. So we have on Tuesday nights, Catholic devotions. It's an opportunity where once a month they do adoration. There's always reconciliation with that as well. And then we do have Mass on campus offered at 11 and 7 on Sundays. They are currently live, but you have to get there early to get a seat because of COVID. It's limited seating. I'm sure you're familiar with this in your own parish. And then something else you might want to be involved with is Miracle. It's a group that's intentionally designed. What they do is they go out and they give retreats to local high schools and parishes and things like that who are looking for ways to connect with young adults and leading them through a retreat. So right now they're kind of being creative in COVID days and doing things like we're walking alongside of there's a parish right next to the school called St. Luke's, and they actually walk alongside the students who are going through confirmation classes. So they're partnered with the kid, and then they're actually live in person meeting with them on a weekly basis as they journey through that. So there's a couple things you might be interested in. In general, a retreat that I really encourage you to consider doing is the Carpe Diem retreat. Lauren's going to be a leader on the spring one, but it's a great retreat, an opportunity to get to know their people, to know your story, to hear other people's stories, and to get connected on campus. So there's a lot of things that you'll probably be interested in doing with us. And we also know you have a life. So like, we don't take it over, but we'd love to have you be part of us. All right, good job being courageous. Desmond, what about you?
Desmond, feel free if you're willing. Oh, we might have just lost Desmond. I was going to say to unmute yourself. Desmond has also joined us.
I've been like trying to like privately message these people on the way too.
Janelle, you're so intimidating. You scared Desmond away.
Don't say this. I've had a complex for the last 2 weeks. I've heard it more than ever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the biggest emotional bag of goo. Why do people not understand this?
I'm pretty sure it was a texting.
Crazy.
Definitely, especially because I know Desmond has joined us on a couple of other things prior to this. So
that's all right. So maybe he just wanted the community engagement piece, which is perfect. So what are you looking for in college, and what are the things that you're hoping to get involved with when you come?
So, well, I'm looking like from like an academic standpoint, I'm looking to major in archaeology. I don't know that this doesn't really relate to anything, but like, I like the feel of Mercyhurst when I was there. Like I visited a couple of times, and I just really like how it's like small and it seems really personal, and like the professors and like all like the admissions people, everyone you meet, they really seem like, okay, like what can we do to like help you? And like it seems very personal and individual. And I like the fact that it's small and Catholic, because all of my schools that I've been to are really tiny. Like I'm graduating from a class of 26.
Wow.
So I'm like I'm more of an introvert person, not a big crowds person. So I really like that about Mercyhurst as well, that it's small.
Well, then COVID is your dream. Because then you get to
kind of. I mean, there's a difference between like being able to be by myself and being forced to be by myself, I guess.
Oh yes. Look at introverts. She's like, oh, I hear you.
Yeah, it's been interesting, to be sure.
Well, you know, you're getting into the major that like we just encourage you to breathe along the way, and you're definitely going to need to use your like faith life to remind you that you're a human being, not a human doing. So it's a great major. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to be studying a lot, but just find ways to make sure to renew and refresh yourself along the way. So come check us out. Plenty of ways to get involved. So don't feel like you have to do this on your own, and because there's plenty of ways to find people to connect with in safe spaces.
And I think you'll also find the close-knitness, of the archaeology and anthropology department too very comforting. I mean, their faculty are definitely going to know you. You're going to get to know your peers in that major as well very well. And I think one of the great things about that department is they kind of have their own space. So if you walk through kind of their wing, you're going to see couches. As you're moving from class to class, you're going to see other faculty and things like that as well too. So I think that one of the great things that Mercyhurst does is it's hard to fall through the cracks. I'm sure that there are some students, but one of the things I always encourage students that if they are used to a lot of academic success and extracurricular success, and they come to Mercyhurst and for some reason, maybe they're stumbling in something that they didn't anticipate, it's okay to admit that, like Janelle was kind of saying, and ask for help, because people are more than willing to give you that assistance. But sometimes if you don't say, hey, could you revisit this topic? Or, hey, man, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Sometimes they don't know that you do need that extra assistance as well too. So don't ever be afraid to either stop in any of our offices or, see your faculty members or use your peers for that help too.
Grace, I was going to say, I think that I met with you when you were on campus this summer. Are you still thinking about maybe taking that year off to do some mission work, or have you kind of adjusted your plans and you're thinking college for the fall?
So no, I'm still planning on taking a year. I applied to NET Ministries, which is a Catholic missionary group. It's based in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm from Minnesota. I don't know if that would probably be helpful. And so, yeah, I'm applying to do that for a year. So I'd be sent somewhere in the United States and then would be stationed there for 9 months to be a missionary. And so then I would come to college like the following year or whatever.
That's so cool, Grace. I have a friend who did NET, and I want to say I attended like one of their programs that they did here, that they did at my parish. So it's a great program. I'm excited for you.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think it'll be really, really cool. So
Grace, we worked with students who've taken the year off and done a service year, and you can always tell those students have just a little bit more life experience, and that plays well into class. I think, Andrea, you might have alluded to this earlier, is that while we have a typical, 18, 19-year-old freshman body, first year students, we also have adult students peppered throughout classes. I even took grad classes here. I got my grad degree from Mercyhurst, and I would say that what Mercyhurst has is the experiential component baked within it, right? So you have people that can lend. So I can't wait for you to be able to be in that classroom and be like a sharer of knowledge, but also not an expert, like you're still a learner. Can you imagine an archaeology student like that, where you do have some life experience? So I just want to affirm you for that. And a shout out to Bethany too. She leads the post-grad service fair. So it's a program we do to promote programs like NET, but also, secular programs like AmeriCorps, maybe a Teach for America. Those would be post-grad typically. But I know AmeriCorps NCCC, which is like the Civilian Conservation Corps, that would be something that 18 to 24-year-olds can do. So we're happy to work with students, however their vocational trajectory might take them. So kudos to you for considering that. That's really wise.
Grace, do you have other questions that you were kind of hoping to ask any of us, or any information that maybe you didn't know about Mercyhurst that you were kind of hoping to dabble in and discuss today?
I guess the only question I have is, do you guys, so you said like you have mass on campus, do you guys have students that like read and sing at mass, or is that kind of like,
Yeah, no, we are totally dependent on you. So please come. We need lecturers, we need Eucharistic ministers, we have a choir, we need all the above. So Father Jim would be loving to have you, because people are getting a little reticent now with actually reading in mass. It's like, we need you. So yes, please come.
It's
Okay,
definitely driven by students. I'm a Eucharistic minister on campus when we've been allowed to Eucharistic minister, but during COVID we've been a little more restrictive with that. Usually the Eucharist, Father Jim is he passes out the body of Christ, and the Eucharistic ministers administer the blood of Christ, but we can't necessarily do that in COVID right now. So when we get back to that, because we will get back to that, I truly believe that, you definitely want to do that kind of thing. And I for one, I was raised Catholic. My grandparents have been Eucharistic ministers my entire life, and I came to campus and I was like, wait, I didn't know that all you had to do was this training to become a Eucharistic minister. That's so cool. Father Jim trains you to be a lector and a Eucharistic minister if you already are one. Awesome. He just contacts your home parish to get that information, and it's just a really easy process. And I, for one, I'm like, this is so great. And it goes back to kind of what Janelle was saying. You're an adult in the faith. And so I was like, this is something that I've wanted to do as an adult, but I didn't know how to do. So when I came to campus, I was so excited that I could, have that opportunity to participate in minister in mass that way.
From an administrative standpoint too, I think one of the most exciting things about going to church is seeing the talent that our students have. They are, obviously great readers when they're being lectors and things like that, but the talent of the choir and the accompanist of the pianist and things like that, it's really tremendous. And I feel like sometimes in my home parish, I don't see nearly as many young adults active in their faith life as well too. So it's really reassuring to see people like Lauren or yourself participating in mass. And one of my favorite masses of the year is definitely Mass of the Holy Spirit, which is often held at the beginning of the year. And again, we adapted to COVID and had it again this year, just in a kind of a different setting. But it's truly an experience second to none. It's definitely one of my most favorite parts of the academic year on our campus too. I know we're quickly approaching our 45-minute deadline too. So maybe we could go ahead and just leave Lauren with our favorite, or excuse me, Grace with our favorite part about being part of the Mercyhurst community. Lauren, do you want to start?
Absolutely. I think that, you saw it when you visited campus, but my favorite aspect of campus, and I kind of witnessed it immediately, is there's this caring atmosphere that is there, that's part of this community that you're a part of. And I always call it the open door policy when I talk about it. It seems like everyone just opens a door for anyone else. Like chivalry and that kind of thing. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a man, a woman, doesn't matter who's coming. It doesn't matter if they're faculty, you don't know them, you do know them. Everyone holds the door open for everyone else. And I think that just kind of embodies how Mercyhurst and the Mercy values are just on campus all the time.
Thanks, Lauren. Bethany, do you mind sharing yours?
Absolutely. Kind of going along with that, and we've kind of referenced the we're a big enough campus, but a small enough campus. My favorite thing when I was a student here was walking to my class. I would know quite a few people who were, as I was going along, I could say hi, but I didn't know everybody. So that was really, we're big enough, but we're small enough. And I love that, because that also means that I'm more than a face to my faculty, and you will be more than a face to your faculty. Like, you will be Grace, and you will have your things and your people. So I love the closeness and the close-knit community of Mercyhurst.
Thanks, Bethany. Colin, anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, just with that, between the big and the small, I want to just talk about the space in between, which is like that spirit. And I'm going to go back to Carpe Diem, our motto, which I think is all encompassing. Everyone can kind of identify with that. But when we see an opportunity, we can go towards it. So this year, a great example was we have a get out the vote opportunity. For those who can vote, why not work together? And so I believe a couple of the ambassadors here, I don't know, Lauren, did you do it too? I know you were probably asked, did you help with voter reg?
I did not. I am remote this semester.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I know Joey was there along with 40 other students, and it was just really neat to see, there's a need. We can work collaboratively and have a nonpartisan voter registration drive. This is just one of different examples where administrators, where students can just find the space and fill it with that seized opportunity to say, I will do that. And isn't that what the sisters would have wanted? For each student to see what is their calling, what's the next step when you see a need, how to respond to it. So that's what I love about campus and following suit here, is that because we're small enough but also big enough, everyone can find their place and not just be a face. And that's our job, right? Is to teach each other, teach the students to find that for themselves. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Thanks, Colin. Janelle, you want to talk about your favorite part about Mercyhurst?
Yeah, I think our ability to encourage and support one another and becoming our best and true selves.
Awesome. And Joey, not to make you the closer, but you're up, buddy.
I don't know. It's like hard to say things that haven't already been said. I would say like the people. Like I like everyone's just so nice here. Like everyone genuinely cares about who you are and like how you're doing. Like just the other day, I was like walking through the dining hall and Janelle's like, "You're stressed out. Let's take a minute." So like, I don't know. I like the caring aspect, kind of like what Lauren was saying.
Thanks, Joey. I appreciate it. Lauren, I really appreciate you sharing your insight as a student, and Joey, you too. And Grace, I really appreciate you being brave enough to turn your camera on and engage with us. I really commend that. And again, I wish you so much luck on your year of service and continued good health. Please continue to engage with us in this virtual setting, because we really appreciate getting to know students. I think I can speak on behalf of Rebecca and probably most of us on this video chat today that one of the most enjoyable parts about getting to know prospective students is that we find out a little bit more about them, and we can then share tidbits about why Mercyhurst might continue to be a great place for them to live and learn eventually as well too. So thank you again for joining us today. I hope you learned a little bit about Mercyhurst that maybe you didn't know prior to today. If we can do anything for you as you continue your college search, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. But enjoy the rest of your day, and to all of our presenters, thank you so much for sharing what you enjoy about working in your fields as well too. I hope everybody has a tremendous afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you guys all again soon. Thanks so much, and carpe diem.